Dear friends, from the timeless collection of Kamla Das, let's read Moonfully. A little brief about Kamla Das. She is one of the pioneers of feminist writing in India. Kamla Das is known for her provocative writing on female sexuality and desire. Her writing includes A Doll for the Child Prostitute, Iqbal, The Tattered Blanket, Sanatan Chaudhary's Wife, Darjeeling, A Little Kitten, and many more. So, from the series of Kamla Das, let's begin reading with Moonfully. When Jasmeet Ahluwalia had just finished washing her 4-year-old daughter, Bittu, the auto rickshaw stopped near her house. It was her mother on her usual annual visit from Gurdaspur. You normally come only 2 days before Guru Nanak Jayanti. Mother, Jasmeet cried out in surprise. Of course, I'm happy that you are here sooner than expected. I had a bad dream 2 days ago, said the mother, alighting with her painted trunk. I dreamt that our darling Bittu was crying out for me. Bittu, releasing herself from Jasmeet's clutches, rushed forward and hugged the old woman's knees. I shall not give you 1 paisa more than what I had promised you at the railway station, the mother told the rickshaw driver. I am an old widow living alone in Gurdaspur, selling milk to make both ends meet. I shall give you 5 rupees and nothing more. But I have not asked you for more, good mother, said the driver, casting admiring glances at Jasmeet's golden legs, displayed below the fold of the salwar. If you do not want me to take any money from you, continued the man, you say so, mother, and I shall go away without a word of protest. The old woman pulled out from her bosom a cloth wallet and took out a 5 rupee note. The purse was swollen, Jasmeet noted with pleasure. After the auto rickshaw pulled away from the mohalla, Jasmeet asked her mother if she would care to have some tea. The old woman was immediately upset. How many times have I told you that tea is not good for the skin? No wonder you look so old, although you have not crossed 30. You have lost your fresh pink complexion. Don't you take lassi? Rohini is giving me 18 pints of milk a day. Can you believe it? I keep a pint or two for myself and sell the rest. I have brought you a tin of ghee, hard as a brick, and 300 rupees to open a post office account in our Bittu's name. Ma, you are very generous, said Jasmeet, watching the child climb into the old woman's capacious lap. And how is your intellectual husband? The Masterji? The old woman asked. Does he still return late at night? You know well how good he is to me, mother. He does not go out to meet bad women or to drink at bars. He goes to give tuitions in order to make enough money to feed me and the child. From each tuition, he makes 60 rupees. In fact, he gets more money from the 6 tuitions than from the school he teaches 8 hours a day. Times are bad, daughter. It is not right that you are left alone in the evenings. But this is not an unsafe place, mother. Everybody knows us. There is nobody in this mohalla who will want to harm me. There are other communities living here too, said the old woman. There are Hindus too. What is wrong with the Hindus, mother? They are as good or bad as the Sikh. So you have started to abuse the Sikh? Cried the mother, rolling her eyes. She held the child tightly against her bosom as though to still the palpitations of her heart. Jasmeet, you do not know what has been happening to our community in the recent months. Does he not read the papers? Your brilliant Masterji? You know what took place at the Akal Takht? How can such an act be ever forgiven? I don't know these things, mother, said the young woman. I'm not a woman who bothers about politics. I look after my child and I feed my husband. These are my only duties. Let the Prime Minister look after the country. Wah, wah, wah. What a brilliant little speech. You are indifferent and lazy. That's what you are. You don't care if your community gets humiliated, do you? Moongfali, Moongfali, shouted the vendor from outside the door. I have some singhara too for our darling Bittu. Who is that? Asked the old woman, frowning, hurriedly depositing her grandchild on the floor. The vendor was a man of about 70, carrying a basket on his head. He put it down on the step of the house and said, peering into the dark interior. Beti ji, please give me a drink of warm water if the cigarette is already lit. This is a cold morning and my chest is acting up. One can hear the whirring inside. It is like a machine turning an oil press. How dare you ask my daughter to get you hot water? Who are you to take such liberties in this house? The vendor folded his hand and smiled at the old woman. I am well known in this mohalla, big mother, but this is the first time you are meeting me. Perhaps I am Gurcharan from Dhaka, but I have been living in Delhi since partition. My only daughter Sita ran away with her Muslim lover. Nothing could stop her. She became a Muslim and married him. I do not hear from her. She has forgotten her father because I thrashed her with a stick when she told me of her lover. Now, whenever I see young women of her age, I remember her and cry. Don't I cry often, Jasmeet Behenji? Yes, you do. Where are the singharas? In silence, the old woman watched the man take out from a roll of red flannel the gleaming water chestnuts. He removed his cigarette from the basket and placed it on the ground. He blew into it, turning the coals red hot. The smell of roasting groundnuts spread in the air. Bittu's nostril dilated. Chacha ji, give me some moongfali, she cried, thrusting out a pink palm. The vendor held it to his face and kissed each finger tenderly. Yes, yes, golden princess, you may have your moongfali, he said, grinning. He had lost a front tooth and the remaining ones were reddened with beetle. Oh, he's certainly a devil, thought the old woman, feeling uncomfortable, watching Jasmeet lounge in her wet and crumpled clothes, exhibiting without shame the rounded calves of her legs and the contours of her comely bust. Buy the groundnut and let him go, said the old woman gruffly. Let the good man carry his wares to the others in the colony. Big mother, I am not in any particular hurry, said the vendor. I am not even in the need of money. I have enough at home in a tin to feed me for a whole year. I come out to sell groundnuts only to meet people. I am lonely at home. There are no one to laugh. There is no laughter in my jhopdi. Outside, I hear the children's laughter. I hear the soft talk of women. Such sounds make me feel good inside. I was not blaming you for anything, said the old woman, subdued all of a sudden by the sincerity of his words. I was only warning my daughter not to trust strangers. Times have changed, especially for us sick. For no fault of our own, we are being harassed. Here we are safe, mother, said Jasmeet. Everybody is friendly towards us. Why? Bittu's father's best friends are all Hindus. Shukia ji, Devi Dayal, they are all like his blood brothers. When he falls ill, they visit him twice a day and bring him medicines from the Ved at Pusa Road. The Madarsi doctor? Are, the Masterji is back, shouted the vendor. Why is he running towards us? Jasmeet watched her husband running along the road towards their home. What is the matter? She asked, her voice suddenly shrill. Has the schoolhouse caught fire? Her husband seated himself down on the charpai in the yard and removed his blue turban. He was perspiring, although the winter breezes brought only an icy chill. Is something wrong with you, son in law? Asked the old woman. You look as if you have seen a booth. No, mother, not a booth. I saw human beings who were more frightening than any booth. They were killing people like us. She has been killed. Who has been killed? Asked the old woman. Give me some more moongfali, Chachaji, cried Bittu. Indira Gandhi, said the young man. It is God's will, said the old woman. What else did she expect? Sending her army into the Akal Takht? Shut up, mother, said Jasmeet. You do not know what are you talking about. She was shot by her security guards, both Sikh, and now the Sikhs are being killed, massacred all over the city. I ran all the way home. I was afraid they would have reached here. Who are killing the Sikh? The old woman asked. Pritam, tell me, who are killing the Sikh? The Hindus? I do not know, mother. Why should you assume that they are Hindus? Asked the vendor, handing some nuts to the child. What are we to do? Asked Jasmeet. If they come here, what are we to do? What can we do against so many? Asked her husband. What kind of an attitude is that, son in law? Shouted the old woman. If the Hindus come and molest your pretty wife, you will not lift a finger to save her? Is that your attitude? You are a rotten coward. You are not a man. You are a disgrace to the Sikh community. Mother, stop calling him names, said Jasmeet. I told you last year that I cannot stand your abusing Bittu's father. All right, daughter. I shall not complain. After all, I am only an old widow whom nobody loves. I came bringing you ghee and 300 rupees to start. Run into the house, cried the vendor. The mob is here. He pushed Jasmeet into the house and set the child in his basket, covering her with a red cloth. Wear a sari and come out through the back door, Benji, he told Jasmeet. Where will you take her? Gurcharanji asked her husband. I shall take your wife and child to my mohalla. I shall tell everyone that my daughter has returned from Pakistan. Cut your hair and run for your life. And what will happen to me? Cried the old woman, beating her bosom wildly. The mob was nearing their house. They had already set fire to the 6 houses at the beginning of the road, the houses where their friends were living. The flames glowed pale in the winter sunshine. Blood for blood, the mob shouted. Go and find you, eunuch, cried the old woman, pushing her son-in-law out of the yard. Don't behave like a coward. You are a Sardar, and never for a moment should you forget it. She went inside the house and locked the door. The vendor had departed, carrying Jasmeet and the child with him. The old woman cursed him in silence. Footsteps approached the yard. Brothers, what have I done to you? Asked the young Sikh, his voice trembling with unease. The old woman heard her son-in-law groan twice. Then she heard the mob abuse him. Set the house on fire, someone shouted. But she felt that she was rooted to the floor. Fear had paralyzed her. She wanted to pray aloud, but no sound rose from her mouth. At Lajpat Nagar, the vendor's neighbor said, Pakistan must be a good place to live in. Judging from what have you done, what have you been telling us, your daughter must be at least 54, but she looks hardly 30. Good food they must be eating. The Pakistanis. Sita, these are all my good neighbors, said the vendor. Make some tea for all of them and give some milk to the child. Yes, Pitaji, said Jasmeet in perfect obedience. So friends, this is the end of the story. Please stay tuned for another story from the timeless collection of beautiful writers.